Okay, hey everybody, good afternoon. Let's see, should be live. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for stopping by. And there's a couple of things. So there was this podcast that came out, I think it was yesterday, last night, Nancy Grace. But there's also, pulled up 3 video clips of Nancy, which we could listen to. And also, we're going to talk about the dog situation, which cops have talked about and cleared it. It's still interesting. And then there's also, make sure you can hear me. Okay, good. Make sure the audio is not off. I don't know how many times that happens. There's also this incident. Jazz found this on Reddit from 2017, and it's just weird. 7 dead coyotes left on student property in Moscow, Idaho, in 2 separate incidences. 3 sororities and 1 fraternity targeted. Animal blood on doorsteps and windows. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of weird shit going on out there. Some of these people, you know what I'm saying? Especially with the dog that was skinned. And some of the articles say filleted and skinned. And so I was like, what does it mean to fillet? Fillet. And what I was looking, I don't know if this is, multiple articles are saying fillet. And doesn't that mean to like remove, like take the bones out or something? Or I don't know. I mean, the chat. Tell me. Okay, just making sure YouTube's fine. All right, everything's good. Right, hey, everybody, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, man. Early afternoon. So we'll get into this. So first, let me just start off with Fresher shared this post from the Moscow PD. The only things to really touch on this is just the basic intro. They do like these updates pretty frequently, and I think this was yesterday. And a thing here on the incident. Okay, on the night of the incident, officers located a dog at the residence. The dog was unharmed and turned over to animal services and then released to a responsible party. Now, the dog, there's 2 dog situations that we're talking about, just like all the Jacks and Jake and blah, blah, blah. So the savage killers of Idaho college students spared the life of a dog at the house where the frenzied attack unfolded. And so this dog, I think it was, there's so many bits of information to remember. I think this dog was Kaylee's, and she shared it with her ex, Jack D. And so people were asking and wondering about this dog. And it says the Moscow Police Department released a statement Monday night explaining the pooch was found uninjured the night of the University of Idaho students were fatally stabbed with a combat knife. The dog was initially placed in the care of animal services. Then it was handed over to a responsible party. So I'm guessing somebody in the family, maybe the ex, a friend, or something like that. As in the chat says, divided the meat from the bone. Holy crap, yo. That's so savage. Jesus. Filet is like a fish meal. No bones, says Linda, and a thin hunk of flesh. Wow. I don't think, no, I'm not saying Kylie's ex did it. Well, a lot of people were kind of looking at that, but I don't know. The family stands by him. I think this one of the sisters and the mother and father of Kaylee, even though the police is debatable, I guess it's debatable whether they cleared it or not. Now this is the other dog we're talking about that police cleared as being involved in this incident or having any kind of relation. Meanwhile, police dismissed media reports theorizing that the quadruple homicide might have a connection with the recent killing and skinning of mini Australian shepherd named Buddy miles from the crime scene. Dead animals were also discovered on another residential property, but they were victims of wildlife activity. Moscow Police Department investigators have been working with the FBI and Idaho police to identify the still at large assailant. So back to this one. So now they're talking about the skin dog, and they're saying here that it was determined to be unrelated to the incident. I'm not sure how they determined that, but it says detectives are also aware of Moscow police incident of the report of deceased animals left on a resident's property. This was determined to be a wildlife activity and unrelated to the incident. So And by the way, we have this press conference coming up, so make sure you set a reminder. I already have it set up on my channel an hour before it starts, so we can hang out and talk, and we'll wait for the presser tomorrow. So tomorrow, we're going to be streaming tomorrow at, I forgot, we've been doing so many streams. Tomorrow we're streaming at 3 p.m. Eastern, but the press conference will start 4 p.m. Eastern. So this part of Idaho is West Coast time, Pacific time. Okay. And just to briefly highlight on this a little bit, we're not going to take too much time, but just to kind of go over a little bit of this whole situation with the dog. You know, they're saying it's unrelated, but an elderly couple's adorable mini Australian Shepherd dog was filleted just 3 miles away from where 4 students were brutally murdered weeks later, sparking fears the same warped creep may be behind both attacks, which now they're saying it's not. Pam and Jim Colbert's dog Buddy was fatally skinned and sliced after being let out of their home in Moscow, Idaho on October 21st. Pam, 78, says the 12-year-old pooch, who had been rescued from a puppy mill, only had fur left on his legs and face after being defiled by an unknown sicko. So you got to wonder, if this is unrelated, who the hell else is out there doing weirdo shit like this, right? She has been left badly shaken by the attack on her animal, which was first discovered by Colbert's neighbor, Barbara. Pam and others now fear the warped creep who disemboweled her pet may also be behind the slayings of students Ethan, Kaylee, Xana, and Madison, a mile away on November 13. Cops haven't made a connection and are believed to be investigating both incidents separately. We called the sheriff's department, and a supervisor said that Buddy had been skinned. It was like a deer that someone had hunted. They cut him around the neck and just skinned him. I mean, holy crap. His little legs had fur, and his little face had fur, but the rest of him was just skinned. The other side of him was as though they had filleted him. Crazy. Like they were about to eat him. See, I didn't know. I had heard of this incident, but I didn't know all these graphic details of whatever sicko out there did this. Even and as so much so as that they were almost going to eat him. They cut him like a fillet, like you fillet a fish. They found his collar, but didn't find a pelt. The Latah County Sheriff's deputy sent to take photos of the report and confirm Buddy killer was a human. So it was definitely human. Okay, no animal thing. Or obviously, I mean, what animal's going to do that? Skin him like that. Commenting on her pet's killing and the quadruple murder, Pam added, "Everybody's very nervous and scared. This is something awful and evil. She and Jim have lived in their home for 39 years. Wow. And now taken to locking their doors for the first time." So maybe it's kind of common out there for people to just leave their doors unlocked, I guess. It's a small town. I don't know if you could say everybody knows everybody, but just leaving your door unlocked, I guess maybe that was commonplace out there. And there's a dog. I mean, I don't know how you can do that. It's such cute. I want to say puppy, but I guess he was older. And Buddy, a 12-year-old adorable mini Australian Shepherd. Jesus. I mean, I don't blame for people kind of like making a connection, or I mean, I'd be even more paranoid because now they got that killer on the loose. Who knows if he's still in town or not, whoever it is. I'm saying he, but it could be a female, but I'm assuming he. And you got this other situation with this dog. Was that another person, a killer in the making? He's already an animal killer. A killer in the making on the loose? The collar, Buddy. The dog is all Colberts have to remind them of their beloved pet who was killed and then skinned. Wow. So this is the map. I thought this would be good for us to see as well. About 3 miles away. Which I saw something on Twitter floating around last night too. There was an incident. If somebody has a moment to DM it to me, there's no proof that it's related, but people are going down and looking down the incident reports. That like there's this incident report thing on the one of the Moscow websites, and so the way it works is like they have an activity log. And you can scroll to the bottom and you can pick what day you want and you can go reading the reports. It tells you the address, but it doesn't say person's name or anything like that, you know. So there was an incident that somebody was chasing after some girls to, I think it was the Monday after the killings. I don't remember specifics, but I know it's on Twitter somewhere. So if somebody says that to me, we'll have a chance. But this is so where the dog was skinned, Buddy's house, and where the murders occurred is about 3 miles away. It's a small town, you know. I guess kind of relatively far, but also wouldn't be hard to travel back and forth, even though they're saying it's unrelated. Explaining the sequence of events, we let Buddy out, and somebody must have been waiting out there. Bud never leaves the yard, but this person grabbed Buddy. We always leave our doors open, and he didn't come back in. Later that night, Jim went out calling for him and couldn't find him. Friends came up and started looking for him and eventually found him. Pam and Jim live at the home set on 10 acres of land in the quiet rural community and managed to get a group of friends together to come and help search for their pet, a mini Australian Shepherd dog. They've adopted the pooch 5 years ago. Disturbingly, Jim found a mutilated rabbit with its scalp and ears sheared off close to his home shortly before Buddy's death. He explained it had the head sliced right open and you could see the brain. What the hell? Wow. Sip a little of this tea, caramel. Jeez. So they found a in the process of I wonder if this was in the process of looking for the dog or just at a random time. They adopted the pooch 5 years ago. Disturbingly, Jim found a mutilated rabbit with its scalp and ears sheared off close to his home shortly before Buddy's death. Mine's all over the place. Wow. So there's somebody out there. That's creepy as shit. Imagine living on 10 acres and you got somebody out there just roaming the woods and the trees, just by themselves and just mutilating animals. And then your dog was next. And then that person's still out there. Authorities say they have no indication that Buddy's death and the university slaughter were connected. However, the Latah County Sheriff has passed all the information from the case to Moscow police who are investigating the quadruple murder. Initially, one deputy believed Buddy's death was the work of an animal. However, another officer with a local force quickly determined that something far more sinister was at work. We're not that many people out here. Somebody had to be waiting. We don't have any enemies. It really was horrible. And now with the students killed, it got all brought back up, Pam explained. The killing of little Buddy occurred only weeks before the murders of 4 students in their home that they shared, just a mile down the road from where the dog's death occurred. Our next door neighbor, Clint, put on a line after I called him to tell him what happened to Buddy. His dog went crazy that night. And I was looking at some of the incident reports, and there's some weird incidences where they say their dog was just barking outside their window, and they go outside and they look and there's nothing there. They call police. There's a couple of, I saw at least one. I don't know if there was other ones, but there were some weird, creepy reports. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Thanks, Jazz. I'm gonna get this next. We've always left our doors open. Not anymore. None of it makes any sense. There's the dog right there. There's just kind of like a little creepiness that's going around in that community. So they're saying it's unrelated, but one deputy came out and he said that they are taking it very seriously and that this kind of stuff just doesn't happen. Apparently it does. Colbert says the students and the skinning have shocked the entire community, leaving everybody feeling nervous. Clint Hughes posted that his neighbor's sweet little dog was skinned like a deer. I remember we read this post and some people thought maybe it wasn't real. No animal did this. Our dog is bigger and was so anxious about the same time he tore his bed up into 1,000 pieces. Also, our cat has been missing for the last couple of days. I wonder if he ever got his cat back. It seems like there's somebody out there just killing animals. A dog is bigger and was so anxious about the same time that he tore his bed up into 1,000 pieces. Like that weirdo creep, whatever that is out there in the woods. It's like the animals are even sensing this guy, whoever that is. It was also noted that the 4 students were killed with a knife believed to be have been a Rambo blade, which may have also been used in skinning the dog, although no official link has been made. Okay, so this stuff we've covered. Okay, I just wanted to talk about the dog, which police are officially saying it's they determined that it's unrelated. So, all right, let me get to this Monday incident that took place real quick, and then we'll get into the Coyotes, and then we'll get into Nancy Grace. So, Moscow report, we are aware of the comment the Moscow PD made about this incident. We have been in direct communication with family involved with this incident. According to witnesses, there was indeed a man in the passenger side of the car when the young ladies opened the car door. We will seek clarification from Moscow PD by what is meant by unfounded. So this is the incident here. November 21st, 2022. So that was yesterday, but I don't think the incident was. Oh, it was yesterday, huh? Was it yesterday? Read a report. 2 young women left the residence on Blaine Street around 5:15 p.m. this evening and went towards their car, where they spotted a man in the front seat who proceeded to exit and chase them. They ran towards friends and called the police, after which the man fled, which when police arrived, he could not be found. Remain vigilant. Description is limited. An overweight white male in a yellow shirt with dirty blonde to brown hair and a scruffy beard. So they left the residence, I guess their home or whoever's house they're at, 5:15 p.m. this evening, and went towards their car where they spotted a man in the front seat. So I guess in the front seat of their car or his own car, who proceeded to exit and chase them. That's weird as shit. They ran towards friends and called the police, after which the man fled. So that's the Monday incident people are talking about. We did the dog. And we did this. Okay, let's talk about this Coyote 2017 incident, and then we'll get into Nancy Grace. I believe it was 2017. Yeah, so it was written yesterday, but these are incidents from 2017. And I guess just looking back and seeing some of the weird stuff. 7 dead coyotes left on student property in Moscow, Idaho, in 2 separate incidents. 3 sororities and 1 fraternity targeted. Animal blood on doorsteps and windows. Now, I don't know, maybe in the chat you could tell me, is this normal? I know these, like, I don't know, fraternities, sororities, they do weirdo shit. Yeah, man, yeah, it's just cool, initiation. But this is like meant to be some sort of intimidation, I guess, right? This is not normal, right? Or is this a normal thing as kids do nowadays in college or something? It's got to be a weirdo shit. This can't be normal. There's hazing and you hear all kinds of things with like dead animals. In 2 separate incidents in 2017, dead coyotes were left on the properties of sororities and fraternities in Moscow, Idaho. The animals had been shot, and their bodies placed on the property. The first incident took place on January 20th, 2017, so they were shot, and a suspect was caught on camera. Police officers identified the suspect, and it was revealed to them that the incident was intended to be a joke. The second incident, officers said, didn't fit the MO of the first incident, and the previous suspect wasn't declared responsible. So we got 2 weirdos. We got a bunch of weirdos in that town. And you got to remember, this is a small town. So they say, oh, this is abnormal. It doesn't seem, I don't know. I mean, of course, statistically, there's going to be more probably normal, sane people than insane people. But within that small demographic, you got quite a few weirdos. The animal dumps were found on the Pi Kappa Phi, or however you say it, Pi Beta Phi and Alpha Phi properties between 1:22 a.m. and 4:22 a.m., so early morning hours. Okay. As previously reported by KXLY, Moscow Police Captain Tyson Barrett said, we don't have enough information as who actually committed it, so we don't know if it's a continuation of that prank or someone else doing it. I mean, who knows? It could be the better guy. I mean, the first guy, maybe he improved his skills, didn't get caught this time, changed up his MO, or maybe it's somebody else. Pi Kappa Phi President Ethan Ennis says the coyote killings were gruesome. The coyote's body was mangled, and he says the sorority across the street got it even worse. Mangled. So, I mean, I don't think it was just he shot him, but maybe he did other things to it. Let me just find out, like, the actual definition of that. Mangled. Mutilated. Severely mutilate, disfigure, damage, cutting, tearing, or crushing. So it wasn't just I guess he shot him, but he did other stuff to the body, it seems like. Ennis said at the Pi Beta Phi, there was more blood on the doorstep, some even smeared on a window. That's some weirdo shit, okay? Police said it appears the coyotes were shot, which is not illegal in Idaho. So shoot them first so you can bypass and circumvent the law, and then mutilate them and do all kinds of crazy shit. On the back porch of the home where 4 university students of Idaho, on the back porch of the home where 4 University of Idaho students were murdered, what looks like to be an animal fur or some kind of cloth can be seen in what looks like to be a dog bed. Oh. You know what, too? Let me just show you this real quick. So my head's popping because this could be nothing because my friend also philosophy showed me other stuff, but like it's a college place, so who knows, right? But this guy messaged me, we'll take facts over emotion or feelings. I don't know. He said, look, the screen doors on the floor there, which I thought was kind of interesting, but at the same time, one of the places that I used to live in, I got tired of that damn screen coming on and off all the time, and the weather and the wind and the supposed hurricanes that turn out to be nothing most of the time, but sometimes it's actually serious. I just took the damn thing off and left it on the floor because I got so tired of it. So, but it's an interesting observation. I didn't notice that. Let me show you something else real quick too. I don't know if it's true. Can I say this? Somebody sent me this. Just take it with a grain of salt. This media outlet is run by an elder at Christ Church, the cult. It was 2 of his church members. There's that cult thing, which I never got to cover either. I got the name of the cult. I even forgot the name. Oh, she texted me that image. That's why I can't find it. All right, I'll get it later. It is I mean, to me, that just looks like whatever. I mean, I don't know what that is, but it is unclear what is actually shown in these photographs or the incidents involving the Dead Coyotes have any connection to the recent murders of the 4 students in Moscow, Idaho. Oh, I see what they're trying to do. Some kind of cloth can be seen in what looks like to be a dog bed. What looks like to be animal fur, but I'm sure animal fur is pretty common out there, I guess, too. We'll continue the story. So I don't know. That's the story of the coyotes. Weirdo shit. All right, so we're gonna move on to the. Okay, hold on. Maybe we can still stick with this. All right, Philosophy sent me a link. Let's see. Christ Church speaks out after former deacon charged with possession. Oh, Lord. So this is the church that's out there? With the background. All right. I mean, I think this might be for a whole nother live, though. Well, let me see. Can I do this video? Christ Church. So let's watch this quick video, and then we'll keep moving to the next thing. We'll leave it for another live stream to deep dive because we want to do the Nancy Grace stuff. Christ Church speaks out after former deacon charged with possession of child stuff. Trying to tank the stream, yeah. This CP stuff.
iPhone contained graphic images of the illegal material in Moscow, facing a federal charge of possession of child pornography. Alex Lloyd indicted after police say they discovered his iPhone contained graphic images of the illegal material. We want to warn you the content of this report may be disturbing to some. Kaylee W's Jordan Smith joins us in studio with details. Jordan.
Anna, we're learning tonight this indictment comes after a lengthy investigation led by Moscow police. For the first time tonight, Christ Church has spoken out on the matter. On April 19th, former Christ Church Deacon Alex Lloyd was indicted in federal court for possession of child pornography on his iPhone. Lloyd was discovered to have been in possession of images of a prepubescent minor engaging in sexually explicit conduct. Title 18 of the
So I think this is what, because there was a call that talked about something on Reddit and this supposed, like, alleged cult that's out there in Moscow, which like I said, I think we'll leave this for another stream because I think this could be a deep dive probably. And I don't know that it has any kind of relation to this, but
U.S. code defining that as a child.
But there was mentions of it on Reddit somewhere.
Under the age of 12. The investigation, led by forensic detective Lawrence Mowry with Moscow police, alleges that Lloyd was in possession of the material from March of 2021 through January of this year. Lloyd pleading not guilty in U.S. District Court. The number of child pornography investigations was amplified during the pandemic. In a KLEW special report, our Ana Velasquez dove into the climbing number of child porn investigations across the state. Detective Eric Chernis with the Moscow Police Department says his team is working with numerous agencies across Idaho to combat these crimes.
There's about 16, 18 of us doing these active investigations full-time, and then we have affiliates throughout other departments around the state.
We reached out to Christ Church for comment, who, in response, released their first statement.
Oh, so for the Monday incident. All right, so we're okay. I was a little confused. It's hard to do this while I'm streaming. From the Monday incident where the people reported that incident about the male, apparently it's from that church. These were two young ladies from our church community. Please remain vigilant. That's weird. The same church that we're watching this story. This is from May 5th, 2022. So a couple months back. Oh, what's going on in that community over there? Oh, weirdo shit. What's going on over there?
On the matter. They allege that this incident began back in January when Lloyd was brought into questioning in regard to these charges. He was picked up by Pastor Doug Wilson from the police department, where Christ Church became aware of what they called a porn habit. Lloyd resigned from his role as deacon and was officially removed from office by January 18th. Christ Church later stating, quote, "With regard to the criminal charges that were filed, to which Alex has pled not guilty, we are content to let the court do its work. With regard to the other surrounding sins by which Alex disqualified himself, humiliated his family, and embarrassed his church, he has sought our forgiveness, and we have extended it." The church would later say they regard this tragic episode as one more casualty in the unconscionable pornification of our culture. In federal law, possession of child pornography involving children under the age of 12 is punishable by up to 20 years in prison, lifetime supervised release, and...
Damn. All right, so they got that. I think that's the church that this person had called in and mentioned one time. So that was related to the dog incident, not the coyote thing. There's like, not the dog incident, the Monday incident of these people allegedly chasing a woman, but not related to the coyote or the dog incident. All right, so let's do some Nancy, and then we'll listen to the podcast as well. This one is regarding the dog filleted and skinned 3 miles from brutal Idaho college murders.
Fox News alert. Today, loved ones will gather for the funeral of Ethan Chapin, one of the 4 college students horrifically stabbed to death in Idaho. But in the weeks since, police refused to explain why they believe the brutal attack was targeted, not even naming a suspect or finding a weapon.
We are looking everywhere that evidence would lead us. I can't say if the person's here. I can't say what community the person's in. We're utilizing every resource we can to make that location of that individual.
Fox Nation host Nancy Grace is following this case, and she joins us now. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning. Learned a lot from their press conference yesterday, mainly that they have had about 600 tips and have already conducted 90 interviews. We also learned, and this is very significant, that they are retracing the victim's steps. We know that 2 of the victims were at a sports bar and that 2 of the victims had gone to a Sigma Chi fraternity party, then came home. I think that they are going through each and every location, following it all the way back to the home. Why? Because very simply, they are looking for suspects. So they're going to start right there on Fraternity Row, and all of the neighbors surrounding them that may or may not be Greek related, and they're going to go to that food truck and follow them home. Very interesting. They've ruled out the 2 roommates. A lot of speculation about them. Very interesting. They've ruled out the 2 roommates. A lot of speculation.
There was something else to that. Now I'm seeing this, it reminded me that I wanted to mention, and this is another thing if somebody can find for me online. With regards to the timestamps, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Oh, I deleted all of my files. Oh, Lord. I forgot I cleaned up my hard drive yesterday. The map for the police. Let me just pull it up right now. Whose mother was it? It was Ethan's mother was saying that the time, they're saying supposedly the time was wrong, that they were at the party longer, I think. Okay, here it is. But I just need the if somebody finds that, I meant to save it. I know multiple people sent it to me, but like my DMs are full, literally full. But supposedly with this timestamp, because we were talking about this yesterday, apparently the police had put here that they were at this party. Xana and Ethan were at this party from 8 to 9 p.m. And so that puts a whole large gap of, what happened between 9 and supposedly 1:45 in the morning. Where were they at? Could this offer clues to maybe who did what, who murdered all of them in this situation? And so I found there was a message people kept tweeting out saying that supposedly they were at that party, I think, a bit longer. So when I find that, I'll show you guys too. Let's see. When I find that, I'll show you guys too about that. The timeline.
About them, that was statistically impossible. 2 females to conduct this type of a crime? No. They ruled out the ex-boyfriend that one of the girls called repeatedly that night before she went to sleep, named Jack. Out. The family rules him out. You've got the hoodie guy at the food truck ruled out, and the private party that gave 2 of the women home a ride home ruled out. That helps a lot. I got to tell you this. I have processed and worked on many multi-victim murder scenes. The devil is in the details, and that's how they're going to catch this guy. DNA, fiber, fingerprints, hair. That's how they're going to do it.
So, Nancy, timeline. Saturday into Sunday, they did as what most college students do. They go out on Saturday night. So the victims were at the bar until 1:30 in the morning, then the food truck at 1:40.
So that's what I'm hearing now. They were actually at that bar. I'm glad they actually covered it because I haven't watched any of these videos. I figured to watch it together. But supposedly, oh no. What? Victims were at the corner club bar till 1:30. Then seen at the surveillance truck till 1:41 a.m. And then home. Okay, they didn't actually cover Ethan then and Xana.
41. Then they were driven home at 1:45. The murders happened between 3 and 4 a.m. and 911 was called almost at noon on that Sunday morning, or in the middle of the day on Sunday. Why didn't the roommates, do you think, hear anything? 2 of them were killed on the 2nd floor, 2 on the 3rd floor. Do you think maybe they were bed?
Russia, thanks. So this is the thing I'm talking about, guys, because we're with this timeline from police. Sorry, it's kind of. A couple of things I should have had up before the stream. this is the message I'm seeing everywhere with regards to the timeline of Ethan and Xana. This is kind of important. So we have here that supposedly they were there between 8 and 9 p.m. And then there's this large gap. And out of nowhere, they just appear at the house where they were all murdered. And so there was this message floating around online. And it says, "This is so hard to watch. Ethan texted my son at 2 a.m. and he's almost positive they were still at the Sigma Chi at that time, based on what the text said. That wouldn't put them at the house until at least 2:10 to 2:15. So she's saying that they were at the, I guess, at the party the entire time, longer, and that they actually would have got there later, around 2:10 to 2:15. My son called the tip line and reported it this days ago, but they're still saying they think Ethan and Xana were at the house at 1:45 a.m. Frustrating. So I don't know. There's still things in the air that needs to be fixed. I mean, obviously, I would think that, well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how cops got the time between 8 and 9, and then just this large gap. And she's saying here that she's almost positive they were still at Sigma Chi at the time, and that they wouldn't put them at the house until at least 2:10 or 2:15. So they were at that party for quite a while. Did something happen at the party or anything, you know? Okay.
Bedrooms in the basement floor, and that's why they didn't hear?
Interesting. As you said, 3 stories, 2 on second, 2 on third. That obviously leaves the other 2 victims on the first floor. And I agree, yes, we don't know the exact layout of the house, but that means that this perp had to go up to get the victims. A lot has been made about why the surviving roommates didn't hear anything, and I keep pointing back to Ted Bundy. The women in the Chi Omega house didn't hear anything. And another thing, yeah, exactly. And another thing, these victims apparently didn't hear what was going on next door because they were in bed. I believe at least 2 of them woke up and fought enough to fight back, and the other 2 were still in bed. So that's why the roommates didn't hear anything. But I'll tell you another thing I think they should be doing, and this is going to be a very tedious task, and that's called a cell tower dump. It's hard to do, but you get the info from the phone companies. What phones were pinging off that cell tower closest to them in this area?
This is what I talked about the other day. I had said in the chat, was saying geofencing, but yeah, like a cell phone dump type of thing where they should be able to pull all the cell phones that were in that area at that time.
Between 3 and 4 a.m., probably between 2 and 5 a.m. Very tedious task. I've also heard mention of ancestral DNA. Here's a problem. You may get a fingerprint, but who are you going to compare it to? If they're not in APHIS fingerprint databank or CODIS DNA databank, you're going to have to go with ancestral DNA.
What's interesting, too, they said it was targeted, no forced entry. So I wonder if this person who did it knew where the people were sleeping, because they only went to those 2 bedrooms, it looks like, or 3 bedrooms, and there was no forced entry. So maybe they knew the code. You saw the picture of the front door, there was a code.
Absolutely targeted.
All right, Nancy.
Absolutely targeted.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, we got that. All right. We got this other clip here. Let me get the super chats too.
This is a Fox News alert. Today, loved one.
Lisa, thank you so much for the super chat. Mel, I panicked, thought I was blocked, got notification, but it's not showing my subscription feed. Missed 30 minutes. Oh, Lord. Well, thank you for being here, Lisa. Appreciate you. And if you guys could hit like, please, it really helps out the algorithm and the video, and to get the video out there. Rebecca, thank you for the super chat. Sinner, thanks for the super chat, says, not so fun fact, that town is the headquarters of the KKK. Oh, shit. Maybe I shouldn't even say that. I don't know if that puts the video in another category. I had heard, wasn't there the police officer, hold on, Alexandria posted this yesterday. The reporter, Alexandria Dugan. Alexandria Dugan. I don't know if that's how it's said, but she had made a post. Supposedly, I don't know what's going on in that town, bro. They got all kinds of shit going on. Former BPD Captain Matt Bringlinson, whatever, was slated to speak at the White Nationalist Conference. KTVB was unaware of his involvement at the time prior to reporting. So I guess they're having some conference. He's retired, but I guess he was supposed to speak or something like that. So, all this stuff. Mess. All right.
Ones will gather for the funeral of Ethan Chapin, one of the 4 college students horrifically stabbed to death in Idaho. But in the weeks since, police refused to explain why they believe the brutal attack was targeted, not even naming a suspect or finding a weapon.
We are looking everywhere that evidence would lead us. I can't say if the person's here. I can't say what community the person's in. We're utilizing every resource we can to make that location of that individual.
Fox Nation host Nancy Grace is following this case, and she joins us now. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning. Learned a lot from their press conference yesterday, mainly that they have had about 600 tips and have already conducted 90 interviews. We also learned, and this is very significant, that they are retracing the victim's steps. We know that 2 of the victims were at a sports bar and that 2 of the victims had gone to a Sigma Chi fraternity party, then came home. I think that they are going through each and every location, following it all the way back to the home. Why? Because very simply, they are looking for suspects. So they're going to start right there on Fraternity Row, and all of the neighbors surrounding them that may or may not be Greek related, and they're going to go to that food truck and follow them home. Very interesting. They've ruled out the 2 roommates. A lot of speculation about them. That was statistically impossible. 2 females to conduct this type of a crime? No. They've ruled out the ex-boyfriend that one of the girls called repeatedly that night.
Same video. All right. I think it's all the same video. There's the details. All right, so let's start with the podcast. It's about 39 minutes long. Let's see. I think it starts like that.
Achieve your goals. Then you need to play Bible trivia. Bible trivia. Personalized plan.
Street Boys.
The kid.
4 beautiful young college students massacred, slaughtered, some sleeping in their beds. I'm talking about the slaughter of University of Idaho students. The case, unsolved. The murder weapon, not found. The killer, on the loose. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us here at Fox Nation and Sirius XM 111. First of all, take a listen to our friends at The Today Show.
The most pressing facts are still a mystery. No murder weapon, no motive, not even a suspect description. Devastating for the families of Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Maddy Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves. Praying for justice in their grief.
Turn yourself in. You owe it to these mothers of these children, these fathers, these families. You're wrong. Turn yourself in.
And so far, the police say that they've received about 500 tips, and they're asking for even more tips from the public, from anybody that knows where these victims were the night before they were killed. But right now, the biggest lead seems to be that large fixed blade weapon, possibly a combat knife.
Let me introduce to you an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now. But first, I want to go to Audrey Conklin, investigative reporter with Fox News Digital. Audrey, thank you for being with us. This, of course, went down on the edges of the University of Idaho along Greek Row at off-campus housing. What do we know about the area?
We know that everything is very close by all of the places where each of the 4 student victims were the night before the murders and the early morning when it occurred are all very close together. You could even walk to each of the places. I don't think they did because at least 2 of them were driven home by a private party, but they're all very close together.
You know, that's significant. That puts things in an entirely different light. Now, Joseph's got Morgan with me, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, and author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, star of a hit series, Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. If most people walk to where they're going, Joe Scott, that tells me the killer probably walked there too.
Yeah, and when you look at this place, Nancy, it's got very specific points of access. there's a big bank of windows in the back of this house on essentially the second level. It's kind of built into the side of a hill.
Looks like a split level.
It does.
And that's the thing too, like we were talking about yesterday.
Big thank you to our partner, Grand Canyon.
Oh, it started over. Podcast preview. What happened? The thing I was going to show, it was about 4 minutes in. We were talking about yesterday that they expanded the crime scene. Fox was, I guess, broke that. And so like the back of this house over here, which we've been talking about that for a while, you could easily see things going on from here. You can even park right there. We're looking at the parked car on Zillow that you could kind of see and kind of monitor the house from just these trees and these bushes if you wanted to. And just multiple access points if you really wanted to, even to the house.
Students look at it
up the hill now
and discussing and talking about possibilities. Again, when you look at this house, I'm looking at it right now, it looks like a split level. There is, what would you say, huge timbers holding up what appears to be a wraparound patio or a little porch that goes around the back, which would be very easy to get on. When you look at it, I'm looking at the sliding glass doors. The father of one of the victims stated that, and it's very apparent, that there are 2 points of entry. One is the front door, which is only entered with a code. Got to know the code to get in. A code like you would see on a rental unit. You know what I mean, Joe Scott, where you punch in 1, 2, 3, 4, and the door will open. The other point of access would be that sliding glass door, which for time immemorial has been a sweet spot for burglars. They're really easy to get into, and a lot of people leave them unlocked because they're a pain in the rear end to lock.
Yeah, they are. And sometimes, particularly college kids, you'll forget to do stuff like that. But can I draw your attention back to that door that has the keypad? If folks can find a static picture, that standalone static photo, and if you look to the left, there is a road, a tiny road that runs up the hill. Now, yesterday they had the police out there taking a look at tire tracks or burn marks essentially on the road. Do you know there's a tree line right there? You could park adjacent to that and walk through the tree line and get access to that top level. So it would provide cover to get to that second floor that you're talking about, that kind of has the balcony, the decking area. It's kind of built into the ground. It's real interesting the way the whole thing is constructed.
You said burn marks. What do you mean by that?
Well, it looks like you can kind of see the skid marks in the road, like somebody has burned rubber in that area.
It's scratched off.
Yeah, they have. And I really wonder if they went out there and took rubber samples as well off of those tracks that were left behind.
But here's the problem. There is absolutely no control of the crime scene. When they got the call, everybody was looking around, and Joe, you would know this. It's really hard to keep people, particularly people of rank, from going up and looking and seeing the bodies and those sorts of things. And so the crime scene has been contaminated at the very beginning of this case.
Guys, you're hearing Dale Carson, high-profile lawyer, joining us out of Jacksonville.
And this is what they were talking about yesterday. Kind of, there was one article that I read, I think it was Radar Online, where they were saying that and I've heard some commentary, people talk about this, that they believe the crime scene was either contaminated or not handled properly or could have been done better. There was one article that we read where they talked about the tire marks, that it took them 6 days, I think, to finally, I don't know what they did, whatever it is that they do, that they finally started doing 6 days after the murders.
And not just lawyer, this is why he's critical today. He's former FBI, former police officer, and author. You can find him at DaleCarsonLaw.com. Audrey, Joe Scott, Dale Carson, and also with us, someone we lean on a lot, Dr. Jory Crossan, psychologist, joining us, faculty, St. Leo University, research consultant, and author of Operation SOS. Guys, please jump in whenever you have a thought like Dale just did, and like Joe Scott brought up, those rubber marks where somebody scratched off near the home. Is it connected? Don't know. Half must investigate. What are they doing right now, and what have we learned? I want you to take a listen to the county coroner, Kathy Mabbitt.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound. Yes.
Can you describe what that one might have been?
Fatal ones were to the chest area or the upper body area.
Were there, and I only ask this because it sometimes determines what kind of a crime this was, a crime of passion, a random crime, a fight, a struggle. Was there, were any of them slashed? Were any of their necks cut? Or were these all puncture wounds?
Well, it was a pretty large knife, so it's really hard to call them puncture wounds. And they were definitely stabbings. And I mean, it has to be somebody that's pretty angry in order to stab 4 people to death.
And we've talked about that multiple times too, that there was the main lethal stab, which was like upper body. I'm probably assuming neck, but upper body. But then there was also multiple stab wounds. And that's what's like, she's talking about, like, it's indicating like hate or rage or anger or whatever, you know?
Our friends over at News Nation, Joe Scott Morgan, I got a problem. Okay, I got a lot of problems, but one of them is that Kathy Mabbitt, who I'm sure is a fine person, is a registered nurse. Wait for it, who has a degree, a BS in political science, and a law degree from the University of Idaho that she got in, I believe, 2006. Could have been 2001. Did you hear me?
I did.
A registered nurse with a law degree and a degree in political science. All those things, each of themselves, are spectacular feats. Okay? Really hard to do all that. But we need a trained medical examiner to look at the wounds and also not to disseminate information until it has been determined by a medical doctor, and possibly not even then do I have to say Delphi. Look, I want to know the information just like everybody else. But this is not the time to be releasing information about the wounds of the victims. Because if the killer is watching TV, what's he going to do right now? He's going to take that fixed blade knife and get rid of it. He's going to clean it and get rid of it. Because so much information is being leaked. And information critical to the case.
And there's no central point of control with it. This is what really struck me about her interview, and she'd given one prior to the one that we just listened to, is that she made a statement before the police ever made a statement. I mean, an open statement.
I don't know. Well, some people were kind of talking about how I always think it's kind of weird. Just me personally. I mean, it might not be weird, but when the coroner starts doing interviews and stuff like that, speaking to, like, yeah, I would think that should be disseminated from the police. I always thought it was weird because it reminded me of, I'm trying to think of what case that was, where there was that coroner that was sus. I'm not saying this lady's sus at all. I'm glad that she's been talking and giving information, but it reminded me of this other coroner that was sus, and he had a whole history. Oh, on the Gabby Petito thing. Homeboy has some DV charges. I forget the whole story, and it was ironic that this guy's, doing the examination on Gabby, and this guy himself got DV charges, and it was a crazy ass story. It was from a long time ago. But something involving a gun and some other shit. I'm like, Lord Almighty. I mean, I get it. People change and blah blah blah. But I was like, bruh, I can't with these people. Brianna, thank you for the super chat earlier. Says whoever killed that poor doggo is at least a budding or a wannabe serial killer, starting fires, hurting animals, wetting the bed. The serial killer trinity. Thank you for that. And if you guys could hit like, please, I'd appreciate it. Helps out the stream. Thank you so much. You guys remember that? Brent Blue. Maven, how you doing? Yes, Brent Blue. Bro, when that crap came out, I was like, oh, hell no. And he was doing the whole presser thing too. Which is like, why is he, they were trolling that guy really hard too. I forgot what it was. He was doing that presser thing and they had this link and all the trolls came in there. JAR in the chat, Jara says, JR, Sorry. A huge percentage of coroners are elected. They have zero medical experience. What? Oh. All right, let's keep it going.
Where they gave an interview.
No offense, but shut your pie hole, lady. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and so that's a bit different. And I think that a lot of this goes, and I'm not disparaging the jurisdiction up there. I think a lot of this goes to a lack of experience that they might have with dealing with mass fatalities like this. And something, people don't think this can happen in your town and it does. It truly does, evidenced here. And everything demonstrates that you have to be on the same sheet of music. You have to have a point of control for all information that's coming in.
It's called a command center.
You're right, Dale Carson.
One of the noticeable things is when you do crime scenes like this, you've got to cover everything to prevent the environment from despoiling it. I haven't seen one covered area, particularly in the back of the property, where it's likely this individual stood and surveilled the house for perhaps a protracted period of time. And that's why the assaults were on the upper floors.
Bro, that could be a really good point, what he just said. That's why the assaults were on the upper floor, because maybe that guy was watching. I mean, I still think it's personal. I still don't understand why not go downstairs. I mean, thankfully he didn't, obviously, but why not go downstairs? Why just the second and the third floor? And this guy made a point of like, well, maybe this guy's that's where he came from. Maybe he's been watching and sitting there for hours and days. And even though somebody did bring up the point about the temperature out there, and literally yesterday when we were live streaming is the first time we're hearing about them. I'm not trying to crap on law enforcement and the officials, but literally yesterday is the first time I'm seeing or hearing about them expanding it right to that back sus area, and I'm like, wow. Really? That area, I mean, we've been kind of talking about that for a while. This whole back area. I mean, it could have really been from anywhere, but this back area, you just have a nice vantage point to see really anything and everything that's going on. And probably hear what's going on. I wanted to get this one comment and then we'll get to the next portion of the podcast. And I'll put the link to our podcast too in the description. So if you want to listen to it directly, you can. Or if you want to go support her, I'll put the link to the podcast in the description. There we go. Wickedly Right said earlier, and this was highlighted by Ahmad, I rarely locked my door when I lived in Moscow. It's a very small community with little crime. The police are in over their head with this crime scene. Damn.
Deductibles, copays, and
how more and more people are finding out DNA is about more than ancestry. It's actually a key to understanding your health. Your genetic profile can tell you if you're at an increased likelihood.
And while we're on that ad, which I've thought about doing that before, that any of you guys in the chat ever, let me ask you guys, let me do a poll. Have you done, I wonder what's the overall term for that? Done DNA, I don't know. I'll just say ancestral DNA. So using one of those websites, I've always thought about doing it because I was just curious about my bloodline. And the other thing I hear too, they can tell you about things that you're likely to have, like diseases or, I don't know, comorbidities, whatever they call it. Comorbidities. Flossie had told me earlier in the chat too, she said ancestral DNA is how the Golden State Killer was caught. And this is what they were talking about in the podcast earlier. Or in one of the videos, Nancy was talking about the ancestral DNA. They could use DNA linking maybe to find somebody. No. 73% say no. Are you paranoid if you do it? That's what I feel a little paranoid too. Sandwich says ancestry is a setup to collect and track your data. I don't know, man. That's part of me feels like that. Part of me, genealogy. Part of me wants to know. And I had this whole conversation. Next time you're at the dinner table with your family, I talk to your family about that, because we had a whole conversation with my family about that. My uncle was super paranoid. And he was like, you don't want to know what's there. You don't want to know. He's like something like, be careful what you seek or some shit. Some weirdo mystifying shit that I was like, damn, what the hell is he talking about? And then my mother, it was kind of a funny conversation because my other uncle was like, your mother's your mother. Okay, don't worry. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm trying to find out. I'm just kind of curious about the bloodline. But my uncle was like, be careful because they're saying sometimes you go looking into your family history and you don't know what you'll find. And there's been stories, right, that people have found out that their parents not their parents or whatever, right? I don't know, man. All right, let's keep it going.
For developing a particular. Listen to our episode out now on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast.
We know that women deserve to be heard and protected. Maddie explains the many hurdles.
Stories with Nancy Grace. The assaults were on 2 floors. We know that there were 2 bedrooms on each floor. We know that 2 of the victims were on the 2nd floor, 2 of the victims were on the 3rd floor, and the other 2 roommates who survived were on the 1st floor, which could be considered, look at it, Joe Scott, an above ground basement. It's a split level house. You've got the entry point there on the bottom with the key code. Then the back kind of is built into the side of a little hill. Yeah. You got to look at this place to get it. So at first I thought, wow, the 2 surviving roommates are on the bottom floor, so the perp had to walk up 3 floors. He could have very well entered through that sliding glass door, which would have put him at an upper level. Yes, no, Joe Scott?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
I think he came in through the sliding glass door. The more I'm reasoning it through, look at the house. Guarantee you he came through that sliding glass door. Although a lot of people seemingly had the code to that front door. Guys, take a listen now to our Cut 40, our friends at KREM. New details emerging.
New details are emerging in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. Tonight, the Latah County coroner says the 4 students were likely asleep. Some had defensive wounds and each victim was stabbed multiple times. Authorities found no sign of sexual assault. Moscow police say at this point in the investigation, they do not believe the 2 surviving roommates or the man seen standing near a local food truck were involved in the murders. Police also addressed rumors swirling online claiming the victims were gagged and tied, saying those are not accurate, and the identity of the 911 caller has not been released.
Okay, we do know Audrey Conklin joining us, investigative reporter with Fox News Digital. Audrey, we are learning more about the person that called 911. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Audrey, but I think that one of the roommates that survived, a surviving roommate, tried to wake up one of the victims. The victim wouldn't wake up. The surviving roommate calls a friend, says, hey, I think she's passed out. I think that one.
I want to listen to that again. This poor, I don't know where she.
Not been released.
Okay, we do know Audrey Conklin joining us, investigative reporter with Fox News Digital. Audrey, we are learning more about the person that called 911. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Audrey, but I think that one of the roommates that survived, a surviving roommate, tried to wake up one of the victims. The victim wouldn't wake up. The surviving roommate calls a friend, says, hey, I think she's passed out. He or she is passed out. They came over. They realized she's not passed out. She's dead.
If this is true, how? How now, brown cow? Because they said that this scene was bloodied and murdered. I don't know where she's getting that information from. Maybe she's connected, though. I guess maybe, she knows people or whatever. So maybe this is what happened. Because we've been wondering how this scenario came to be that the 911 call was made from the roommate's cell phone, but it wasn't actually the roommates that called 911. And then we found out that, it seems like they had contacted some friends. Multiple friends came over, and I'm assuming one of those friends that made the call, because from earlier reports it said that a friend made a call. But now in the police reports too, they're saying that it was multiple people on the phone, friends and stuff like that. So I still don't get the unconscious thing, because we even talked about at one point, I think there was a channel that's police officer, a retired police officer, that was talking about, it was a smaller channel, was talking about that's not uncommon for that terminology, that's just the dispatch terminology. But then if this is true what Nancy's saying, I still don't understand. I'm confused. Maybe there was one scene that wasn't. And somebody in the chat, Gamer Lover, says smell blood like copper. And yeah, I don't know. Would you have been able to smell it too at that point? I mean, I know it's kind of graphic, but I'm still confused about that. Beautiful Disaster says, thank you for the super chat. In the girls' IG pics at the house, there is a creepy cabin behind the pics. Makes me feel icky. I don't know, but it's usually explanation closer than we think. Sometimes, yeah. Silence Betrayal, thank you for the super chat. Silence is betrayal. He locked the bedroom doors, no line of sight. He locked the bedroom doors, no line of sight. No line of sight. But you still see something there. She's saying that. Do it again.
Audrey, we are learning more about the person that called 911. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Audrey, but I think that one of the roommates that survived, a surviving roommate, tried to wake up one of the victims. The victim wouldn't wake up. The surviving roommate calls.
So she's saying she thinks?
911. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Audrey, but I think that one of the roommates that survived, a surviving roommate, tried to wake up one of the victims. The victim wouldn't wake up. The surviving roommate calls a friend, says, hey, I think she's passed out. He or she is passed out. They came over. They realized she's not passed out. She's dead. They call 911. Police get there and they find the other 3 victims. That's my understanding. What do you know, Audrey?
I haven't heard about one of the roommates trying to wake up one of the victims, but what I can see happening, and this is speculative, but maybe the roommates who we now know lived on the first floor of the house saw or heard something that frightened them, that morning, maybe without seeing the victims themselves. Maybe they saw blood, maybe they saw or heard something that was not unusual in that household. So they called friends over to check out the situation. Those friends may have seen a victim in their bed not moving, which I think would make the unconscious person report make sense. And they called police from one of the roommates' phones.
That's right, because one of the surviving roommates' cell phone was used to call 911, but apparently it was not their surviving roommate. Your construction of the facts makes perfect sense, Audrey. Guys, take a listen to our friend Kyle Simchuk.
Detectives say they've received nearly 500 tips, which are being processed, investigated, and cleared. 38 people who may have information about the murders have been interviewed. The whereabouts of the killer and the knife used are still unknown. Detectives seized the contents of 3 dumpsters on King Road to look for evidence. Police have also gone to local businesses to see if anyone recently purchased a fixed blade knife. Anyone who saw something suspicious, has video surveillance, or can provide relevant information about the murders is asked to call the Moscow Police Department.
Joe Scott Morgan joining me, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University. A fixed blade knife, as opposed to, for instance, a switchblade. It's not fixed, immovable in the hilt, or a penknife that folds out. A fixed blade knife is certainly going to be the weapon because it's more sturdy. And we know that these are very deep stab wounds. Explain.
Yeah, they're very robust, I would imagine, in their appearance. That means that the width of the knife, and it had been mentioned earlier, they used the term puncture wound. This is not a puncture wound. This is going to be a big open wound where the knife is introduced into the body specifically. And I think one of the reasons they're drawing this conclusion, remember, they keep saying military style. I think that perhaps what happened, there is a hilt guard. That's that little bar that goes across the handle that separates the blade from the handle.
Horizontally across the knife.
Yeah, and so I think, and most military style knives have those, we can see actually a bruise, called a hilt bruise, lots of times when this is driven into the body. That might be where they're drawing that conclusion from. They've used the term K-bar, which is generally associated with the Marine Corps. It's a combat knife. I don't know that for a fact, but that name has been thrown around. Our Marines have used that since World War II.
I've heard that too. To Dr. Jory Crossan joining us, psychologist.
And I think that's why they're searching that ROTC part of the school. Somebody had sent me yesterday the link to it, but I wish I would have saved it. I have a bunch of messages, man, and so I had it yesterday and I made a note of it. If I find it, I'll put it up on the screen. But they were searching. I did the article yesterday, but they sent me specifically for the school, the ROTC section, and they're searching there, I guess, or looking into if any weapons are missing or anything like that.
And faculty, St. Leo University, also author Dr. Jory question. Think about it. This is between 3 and 4 in the morning. And apparently, Jackie, I read that one of the victims was making calls up until 2:58. 2:58. Did you see that? Did you see that, Audrey? That one of the victims is on the phone at 2:58?
Yes. Police believe that she was on the phone right before the murders are estimated to have happened.
Yeah. And how was she asleep? 2 minutes later. Very curious timing, but that's got to have been established by phone records, or someone that spoke and could look at their phone and go, yeah, it was 2:58. Also, we know that one of the girls continually called an ex-boyfriend Jack. They shared custody of a dog, I guess is one way to put it, and were maybe even reconciling. That said, Jack has been ruled out by the family. There was a flurry of phone calls to the friend Jack right before the murders. So the last call's at 2:58, and they're placing the murders between 3 and 4 a.m. 2 minutes later, yet they say the victims were in bed and likely asleep. To Dr. Jory Crossan joining us, the thinking of
This is I found the link. I just Googled it. But this is the University of Idaho Army ROTC. And so there was an article from Radar Online that had mentioned, which makes complete sense, to like maybe look into here, just check things out. I wonder if I can find that article again. I know I had it up. Radar. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how credible or if this is true, this article, but yesterday this was here and it said that police zero in on University of Idaho Reserve Officers Training Corps for possible Rambo-style knife. So they're just looking everywhere because they've already been looking into the local stores and seeing if anybody had made purchases. And so this ROTC is a college program offered at the Students College campus that prepares young adults to become officers in the U.S. military. Investigators believe the weapon used in the brutal saying would be a combat knife. And it could have been sourced for the University of Idaho ROTC program, said a law enforcement source. No murder weapon has been found yet. And police believe it's a Kabar-style knife, which maybe I should just show you guys real quick. Kabar. I mean, that's a good place to look. It's a small-ass town, right? So, I mean, you might as well make sense to look there. That's Kabar type of knife, I guess. Kabar. Makes sense. And so ROTC, scholarships, parents and families, activities, classes, and training. Hands-on leadership. Okay. Labs cover challenging outdoor activities such as small unit tactics, rifle marksmanship, land navigation. Okay. Increasingly hands-on role. All right. Practice hands-on interactive exercises, team building, first aid, cultural protection, ethics, problem solving. Okay. All right. Let me get back to it. All right, so let's get back to the podcast. And let me just get the super chats real quick, too. Eric Johnson, neighbors saying the house was definitely a party house, loud music, and people there 4 to 5 nights a week. Murderer has been in the house before, IMO. I have the same opinion that they've probably been in that house before. The night of, they were probably out there. I wouldn't be surprised in the back of the house, just looking and waiting for when they got home. Probably done it on multiple occasions. Billy White P wouldn't rush you over first thing in the morning if your girl call you 5 to 6 times. If Jack is her man and they're not close. Okay, let me read that again. Wouldn't you rush over first thing in the morning if your girl called you 5 to 6 times? If Jack is her man, then they're close. Seems odd. That's true, I guess. I don't know what time Jack woke up. And it seems like the roommates kind of woke up later in the morning, almost afternoon time, 11:56, I think is when the call was made. I don't know what time Jack woke up, but for sure, yeah, true. All right.
Of this perp to go from floor to floor. If the murders were targeted, why kill 4? Wouldn't it likely be one of the victims was targeted?
Yes, it could be, but then the others just become collateral, like witnesses. But also, with a personality, a frenzy attack, once they start the killing, then it just, the deviance just produces that behavior to kill again. I'd be real interested in knowing the sequence of who was killed first or how the bodies were found. And, I think you could pretty well determine if we knew that, like who was killed, because Ethan, the boy, the male, seems like he would be one of the first to be eliminated.
Except that he was likely in the same bedroom with a female, his girlfriend, Xana.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thoughts that I think quite a few of us had, that he probably targeted whoever the killer is, probably targeted Ethan first to maybe eliminate the threat, and maybe that's why Xana had defensive wounds. Who knows in the process? I don't know if they were in the same bed. I'm assuming they were probably in the same bed. So to pull that off, I mean, that's ballsy as hell to pull that off. And I guess he figured maybe take out the threat first. And then maybe she would have woken up in the process. I don't know how you pull that off. That's oof.
Let's think this through. Dale Carson, Joe Scott Morgan, jump in. We're talking about this scenario, and it's really impossible to determine, based specifically on the bodies, which murder was first. But other information could tell us that.
But think about it. The lights are out. You enter a house. You're going to kill somebody. You have a specific target in mind. You go into one room. It's not the target, but you kill them anyway. And then you work your way progressively, and you can determine when you find the target's knifing is going to be different. And one of the things that you mentioned that's really peculiar to me is that if someone calls and says somebody's unconscious here, and they're dead, there's no way you can stab somebody in the chest and really eviscerate them without leaving a tremendous blood trail. So you don't call the police and say, look, there's somebody unconscious. You say there's blood everywhere. Somebody's dead.
Exactly.
Something's wrong with that.
That I still can't wrap around my head around that. I mean, I understand. I guess I can understand why they're not releasing the 911 call. I guess it's for the integrity of the investigation. But of course, we're curious and wondering. I mean, it's probably I would think it's horrible, but who knows what that call sounds like, especially that there's multiple roommates in the background. Maybe they're all screaming or whatever. Maybe they're not. But it's just weird. It's weird. I mean, and maybe there's nothing to the 911 calls. Maybe there's.
Killings were so instantaneous, which belies the argument that there are multiple stab wounds.
What about it, Joe Scott?
Yeah, I'm thinking there is an outside possibility that science could have the answer here, and this is what I believe. If there is if they are careful in collecting their evidence, the person who was the first to be attacked will have the least amount of others' DNA on them. And what I mean by that is once that knife, assuming, of course, that they're using only one instrument, once that blade is introduced into that first person's body, They withdraw that blade, okay? They now move over to the next person and then reintroduce that blade into the next victim's body, and so forth and so on.
There's your sequence.
And you have what's referred to as commingling of blood and certainly biological material, DNA. So the person, if they work their trace evidence right at the scene, the person that has the least amount of DNA from someone else, there's a higher likelihood that person could be the first victim, Nancy.
Wow. That was, I think, a really good explanation, because I'm pretty sure I had heard in one of the interviews that this coroner did, I thought I had heard them say that there's no real way of them telling who, or I could be confusing it. I thought I heard her say there's no real way of telling who was killed first, and also like the exact time of, I think that's what it was. I think it was they couldn't tell who was killed first because of the time that it took to like report them, to call 911 or something like that. But what he made was a really good point. Maybe you could trace that to the first person that has the least DNA, or co-mingling, as he said, as the term that they use. That's possibly the first person, which makes a lot of sense, that was killed, possibly. But who knows what happened? I don't know if there was any kind of fight. There were rumors. I thought they said they were all likely sleeping and they were all likely in bed. But I keep hearing people with rumors that maybe somebody had gotten up at some point and they weren't in bed. But
guys, take a listen to Our Cup 43. This is Sarah Robinson along with family members.
I have no idea. It doesn't make sense.
He says Xana was in constant communication with her family, and nothing about that night seemed unusual.
The door locks with the number code. Every time you open it, like I had to go around the house to get in the house because of the number code. So they either knew that or they just kind of went around and found the slider open.
A father struggling to understand.
With the number code.
43. This is Sarah Robinson along with family members.
I have no idea. It doesn't make sense.
He says Xana was in constant communication with her family, and nothing about that night seemed unusual.
The door locks with the number code. Every time you open it, like I had to go around the house to get in the house because of the number code. So,
and with that door code thing too, like they said, multiple people had that number, but I had also heard that supposedly that thing's not always activated. The door code things, you could just open the door, but then there's a sliding door.
They either knew that or they just kind of went around and found the slider open.
A father struggling to understand how this could have happened. Why Xana?
They were just hanging out at home.
Yeah.
Xana was hanging out at home with her boyfriend.
The code on the front door, the sliding glass door on the side of the building, affixed to a little patio, kind of a wraparound patio. What's the point of entry? Because there you will find fingerprints. And I say absolutely you will, because this type of frenzied attack is not conducive to the mind of a killer who would wear gloves and then conduct 4 frenzied attacks. That is inconsistent. What do we know investigators are doing right now? They are retracing the steps. 2 of the victims were at a sports bar and then a food truck. 2 of the victims had been to a fraternity party at the Sigma Chi house and then came back to the residence on King Road. Why? Because they are looking for suspects. Take a listen to Amanda Rowley at CRIM.
Investigators believe Madison and Kaylee were at the Corner Club on Saturday from 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Sunday morning. Then they were at the Grub Truck on Main Street at 1:40 a.m. 5 minutes later, the map says they returned to their home on King Road. Investigators also believe Ethan and Xana were at a party at Sigma Chi from 8 to 9 p.m. Saturday night, then returned to the King Road home at 1:45 a.m. on Sunday. The hope is that someone might remember being at or near these locations around the same time and potentially saw something suspicious or relevant to the investigation. Police are asking those people to call the tip line number or email that information.
The tip line is 208-883-7054. Repeat, 208-883-7054. Dale, is that you jumping in? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's just a dead end street. Look, the individual who murdered these folks was laying in wait back up on the hill, came in through that sliding glass door, and perpetrated the crimes. He has no association with other people, and you're likely to find that the individual is either living in the woods, like individuals in prior cases that are not part of polite society. They're not part of our society, and you can see them. They're living homeless. They're different than us, and they feel alienated from us. And that's one of the driving features that causes them to injure us, aside from any other psychological problem that they have.
What do you make of that to you, Dr. Joy Crossan?
I agree with it. I think this person's going to be like a transient person.
I don't know. Transient? What do you guys think? You think transient? I feel like that's the most, I don't know, it's the most typical thing that everybody thinks is a transient. It's like the first, just like the whole sex offender thing, which I don't, obviously you got to check them out in the area, but that's usually the first place people look at. But I don't know, transient doing this in this small little town? You can't find this transient if that's the case? I don't really think a transient.
Like individuals in back up on the hill.
5-4. Dale, is that you jumping in? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's just a dead end street. Look, the individual who murdered these folks was laying in wait back up on the hill, came in through that sliding glass door, and perpetrated the crimes.
So that part, and it's, of course, this is just speculation because we don't know, but I agree. Like, I don't know. When I saw this, we were on the other stream talking about this, like this hill. I'm sure they probably have, let me see if I have the video. I'm sure they probably had, maybe they had curtains or something. I mean, this is open right now because they're there, but this is more current. But you could easily, from the outside area, that little hill. This Google Chrome has just been acting up lately. I'm going to put this guy's drone footage in the description as well, too, if you want to go check it out. For some reason, I don't know why it's acting up. Google Chrome is always a problem. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm going to put his link to drone footage again. Yeah, I'll just leave this alone for now. Or you know what? Let me use the more reliable browser. Chrome. I mean, I use Chrome, but it's problematic all the time. But yeah, you could. I mean, there's a clear vantage point. We've talked about this multiple times throughout the entire back area. I mean, they even so gracious they got a parking spot for you over there. You want a stalking parking spot, because that back area is a parking area. And that guy in the gotta find the other video. There's literally like a parking area there too, I guess. That would just be my opinion, but yeah, the person could have been right out there watching the entire thing. All right, so let's get back to this transient thing, a theory, I guess.
He has no association with other people, and you're likely to find that the individual is either living in the woods, like individuals in prior cases that are not part of polite society. They're not part of our society, and you can see them. They're living homeless. They're different than us, and they feel alienated from us. And that's one of the driving features that causes them to injure us, aside from any other psychological problem that they have.
What do you make of that to you, Dr. Joy Crossan?
I agree with it. I think this person's going to be like a transient person with no real ties to that community. In college towns, they can blend in real easy with the students, and the people, and go unnoticed, be anonymous, basically. And then, just like Dale was saying, if they get a fixation, stalking, or see a target, and then they're gone. They're in and out.
Okay. Joe Scott Morgan, how does that jive with police theories that this was a targeted?
Somebody said Bigfoot. Yeah, I don't believe it either. I don't think transit. I used to have that mentality when I was first started covering stories, and like even one of the ones, Naomi Boulevard, and there was another case local, and so I went out literally. I have multiple videos of me going out into the woods, and I've run into multiple homeless people, and it's kind of scary because you never know if somebody could attack you or be on something or whatever. But it just wasn't the case. A lot of times it just was not the case, you know.
Attack.
Well, yeah, I think that there's a chance that this individual has been watching for a while. Again, I go back to this idea of the points of observation. If they had been tracking these girls, listen, it would have been the perfect environment that night. If they had been watching them on any level, watching them go to parties, they're walking around. Remember when we saw that image at the food truck, they're kind of jovial, laughing, cutting up. They had been out partying that night, and they were perfect targets at that moment in time for somebody that was looking to strike. And again, brutally cold at night, this person feels comfortable moving around in that environment. You saw everybody was wearing hoodies, jackets, and all that sort of thing. They would have to be comfortable in that environment walking around. So that might go to the point that they are transient, that they're not part of polite society.
We are learning more and more about the timeline. That's the first thing you do is try to establish a timeline. Take a listen to our friend Zareen Shah.
A sister of one of the 4 college students found murdered at an off-campus house near the University of Idaho, revealing new clues.
So I was able to get a pretty good timeline on Kaylee and Maddie the night of, from about 10:15 until shortly before 3 a.m.
Olivia Goncalves says she discovered at least 6 calls from her sister Kaylee's phone between 2:26 and 2:52 made to a boyfriend in the early morning of November 13th. Detectives now saying these phone calls are part of their investigation.
The phone calls are critical because we know that Goncalves was up, Xana was up at 2:52 a.m. Let me think that through. 2:52 a.m. It was Kaylee, not Xana Kernodle. Kaylee was up at 2:52 a.m. on the phone. Yet, Audrey Conklin, they're starting the timeline of their murders at 3 a.m.
Right. So police have said that between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. is when the murders occurred. So they could have been asleep. But yeah, phone activity shows that they were up and trying to contact people right before the murders occurred.
It's very creepy to Dr. Jory Crossan to know that one of the victims, Kaylee, is on the phone at 2:52 a.m. and the timeline sets the murders at 3 a.m. Could someone have been watching, and when the lights are turned off, they enter the home?
They could have already been in the home.
Okay.
And waiting, for.
That's a thought that I've heard some people say too, that maybe the perpetrator was already in the house waiting. Some people have told me that. I'm going to slow the chat just a little more.
Okay. Settling down, like hearing a conversation on the phone. Okay, let the phone get hung up. One thing you mentioned earlier about the weapon, and they were looking and checking at the stores to see if somebody bought. I would think this weapon is really important to them. I don't think they just went out and bought it. I think they've had it for a while. This has been part of that identity, if you lack for a better psychological term.
Well, it is actually an identity. Every time that we go camping, when we run into other campers, a lot, and it's usually men, will have huge hunting knives in sheaths attached to their belts. The way people will attach like an iPhone or some other instrument or tool to their belts. These knives are attached to them. So that does speak to their identity.
Yeah, and here in the South, everybody carries a knife. They got those clip-on ones.
I don't know about that because I don't know a single soul that carries a knife other than the scout troop leader. The man, not the woman. Okay.
you guys might remember too when we covered this story of Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner, and people were kind of wondering if somebody off in the mountains or transient or something like that. And didn't it turn out to be some dude at one of these girls' jobs at McDonald's? And the dude offed himself. He already had offed himself by the time they found out who it was, I guess. But we were all over the place trying to figure out who did this. And it turned out to be some weirdo at the job. Both of them were found shot multiple times. Well, however you pronounce this, was a former employee who worked at McDonald's fast food store with Turner. Homeboy worked right there with them. Weirdo. And there was some weird guy too at I think Kylan's job too. There was some weirdo over there, but he wasn't involved. But people were looking at him. So is this guy. Anybody in the chat remember that? And I spoke to their dad. I did an interview with their dad multiple times with Kylan's dad. So that's what I'm saying. Like I used to have the mentality, and I've gone out there in the woods myself. Now I don't know what Moscow it's like, but I've gone into some Florida woods and stuff like that. And I've run into homeless people and tents and encampments and all kinds of shit out there. But a lot of the times it's not really what you think with the transient people out there. But I mean, I could still see somebody off grid, maybe hiding and living out the woods and stuff. I don't know. But still, and then you got to take into account the temperatures out there in Moscow, right?
Hey, well, you guys go ahead and carry a knife. That's your business. Take a listen now to Captain Roger Lanier with the Moscow Police.
On the morning of November 13th at 11:58 a.m., a 911 call was. On the evening of November 12th, Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen were at a local bar and were later at a food truck in downtown Moscow. They arrived home at approximately 1:45 a.m. on the morning of November 13th. Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were at the Sigma Chi house before also arriving home at approximately 1:45 a.m. Two surviving roommates were also out in the community, and they returned home at approximately 1 a.m. and did not wake up until later that morning.
Everything is more expensive these days. With inflation.
What if you had insights into your genetics that could help you live healthier? 75% of people take positive action app or wherever you get your.
I'm a pillar in the LGBTQ plus community.
Might be over.
Two of the victims at the food truck just before their murders. Was that you, Dale? Jump in.
It was. Look, they're going to find a sniper's hide up on the hill behind that house. That's where their evidence is going to be. This person has waited for them to come home. He didn't follow them. He wasn't.
That I kind of agree with. I think, just in my opinion, I think that person probably had been there multiple times, has been in that little spot out there watching them and shit.
Watching them and following behind them in a car or on a bike. He was waiting. And that's where the first investigation should have been conducted candidly. Now, I taught serial killers for the Bureau for a number of years. Those people have the patience of Job. They will wait and wait and wait until the opportunity is perfect from their perspective. What we've got to worry about is there's another pet that was killed, and I handled a case or was involved in a case involving that sort of thing, where the pets started going missing first, and then there was a homicide that was directly connected to the individual who was taking the pet.
Hold on. Audrey Conklin joining us from Fox News Digital. Has a connection been made in any way from a pet to the quadruple murder?
No connections have been made yet between any kind of animal violence and the murders, but I'm sure that's something police are looking at.
What about this theory, Audrey? What about the theory that the perp came into the home while everyone was gone? Every single person was out of that home. All 6 were gone. The 5 roommates and the boyfriend, Ethan, all gone. When they come home and he's already in there and then everybody starts settling down to sleep, I wonder if it happened like that. Or Joe Scott, did he enter after they were asleep through that sliding glass door? What do you think?
First blush, Nancy, when I heard about this, I really had thought that this guy was possibly laying in wait inside the residence.
I mean, he could be in there for any reason, looking for food, looking for money, looking for something to steal, and then everybody starts coming home. He may have thought they were away.
Yeah, and it's like Dale was saying, this is this individual's sole focus in life, perhaps. His target. He can sit there and wait because he's totally fixed on these individuals as targets, or maybe one of them that he's zeroed in on. And it would not surprise me if they were to find evidence within the house that he had been hiding somewhere, sequestered somewhere in that house and waiting for them to come in. But we don't know. And given the fact that there was, it seems at least, that there may have been a lack of security at the scene when processing. And look, you have to say things are chaotic at the beginning with many times like this, but it's troubling to me. I hope they haven't missed something outside the house.
The dog, Dale Carson, is talking about high-profile lawyer out of Jacksonville, former Fed with the FBI, a woman who lives near the quadruple murder there in Idaho, about 3 miles, says her little mini Australian shepherd had literally been filleted a few weeks before the quadruple murder, making some people think that the two are connected. Back to this. Take a listen to Chief James Fry.
Detectives are looking to develop any content that would help us in this event. Anyone who has observed any notable behavior or has any video surveillance or can provide relevant information about these murders, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. Or you can email the tip line and that is tipline@ci.moscow.id.us.
And more from Captain Roger Lanier. Listen.
On the morning of November 13th at 11:58 a.m., a 911 call was placed to the Whitcomb Dispatch Center reporting an unconscious person. The call originated from inside the residence and was made from the phone of one of the surviving roommates. Moscow Police Department officers responded and located 4 victims, 2 on the 2nd floor and 2 on the 3rd floor.
We're getting a little clarification regarding who made the 911 call. Take a listen again to Chief James Fry.
Gotti Schwartz, NBC News. Just following up on the 911 call, you said that you don't believe that's the killer. Can you conclusively rule out the person that called 911 from inside the home as a suspect in this case?
Big.
Can you go ahead and just ask that one more time, please?
The person that was inside the home that called 911 that was not one of the roommates. Can you conclusively rule that person out as a suspect at this point?
I don't think I said that it wasn't one of the roommates. I said that it was used with the roommate's phone.
I believe somebody asked if that was the killer, and you said no.
No, that's correct.
Was there someone there other than the 2 roommates when police responded?
There was other friends that had arrived at the location.
So that goes back to what Audrey Conklin from Fox News Digital was telling us, that one of the roommates apparently couldn't wake up a victim. Maybe she just called her through the door. I don't know. And then she, the surviving roommate, called friends over. The friends come over. One of them uses roommate's phone to call 911. There's a lot that's been made about who called 911. It's a friend of the surviving roommate. And they have been ruled out as suspects along with the surviving roommates. Here's more from Captain Roger Lanier.
Investigate.
I think all this stuff we're pretty much caught up on. It's a 39-minute podcast, but right when we got to the end, it somehow just expanded to, I don't know what. It's supposed to be 39 minutes. It looks like the rest of it is kind of just recapping. I'm not sure. I mean, we'll listen for a little bit more, but if it's just recapping, we'll move on to, I don't know, the chat and whatever else.
Investigators have determined 2 areas of interest within the city and have provided maps which are on our Facebook page and on our website. And these are areas that they have canvassed for additional surveillance video and tips and have contacted several residents in the areas. The areas are generally south of Taylor Avenue to Palouse River Drive and west of Highway 95. Detectives have also canvassed several other neighborhoods looking for evidence, looking for additional surveillance video, and contacting residents and speaking to them to see if they may have heard or seen something.
To you, Jessica Morgan, I think that what the police need to be doing right now, and I've got it narrowed down to 4 or 5 things. 1, looking for the suspects and retracing.
Maps which are on our Facebook page and on our website. And these are areas.
Yeah, I think we can kind of move on from this because it's just recapping the presser. So let me see. Take this screenshot here. Channel that put on annoying polls. So then go watch somewhere else if you don't like the poll. I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna take a screenshot of the poll though, so I can send that later to my mother because we were talking about the whole DNA thing. All right. So I got the screenshot. Now let's do this. Melissa, thank you so much for the super chat. Says all the love to you, Mel, chat, and mods. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for the mods that can make it. I appreciate it. Gonna have a full house again today. I might need just a few more, maybe 1 or 2 more mods. So if there's anybody interested, email me. And it preferably somebody that's been around the channel for a while. I don't like to take on random people. I had somebody that DM me the other day, so I'll start looking through my stuff. Let me see what else. Oh, so let's talk about this real quick. So there's this whole conversation that we had the other day, right? And this whole thing was because somebody said that the blood in the foundation is not actually blood and that it's oil, heating oil, and so it's not really blood, and tell the media to shove it up theirs and blah, blah, blah. He didn't say all that, but something like that. And so there's been conversation and talk, and I was like, oh, it's very possible. Maybe it's not blood. Maybe it is this thing. And so there's this Reddit post, the sleuths online, Squid Sleuth. So there's been a lot of debate on if the red liquid on the foundation is blood or heating oil. Here's a pic from 10/31/2022 that shows red liquid. I mean, I don't know where you're supposed to see that. Maybe I need to brighten the image, I guess here or something. Here's a pic from 10/31 that oh, no red liquid. Lord Almighty, help me. Okay, not saying it's blood, just showing it must have started leaking somewhere between 10/31 and 11/13/2022 if it's actually just heating oil. So then somebody went over here and pulled up the public deed records and says here, public property records also saying the heating is 100% electric. So we wouldn't have that. I guess we wouldn't have that oil thing. Damn, good catch. Now I'm terrified. Yeah, no way in hell a landlord renting to a college house is using heating oil. That shit is beyond inefficient and expensive. I had oil heat throughout college. My landlord sucked. But the heating part is on page 1. So they got the second thing. So thanks for that. Moscow covered by natural gas through Avestia. So it would be weird a house in the city limits was off grid, but this much more clear if the heat isn't gas at all. So I guess maybe that is blood coming from the foundation. More than anything, I wanted it to be rust. It's a harmless explanation. Unfortunately, when you zoom in, you can see a portion where the blood slides over the pipe and contacts the wall as it fell. I started crying when I realized this is so effed up. How the fuck can anyone do this? My husband and I met 11 years ago, and our story is similar to Xana and Ethan. We always spent the night together, and I felt so safe with him next to me. It hits close to home and it makes me feel so sad. This sick F needs to be caught. Wow. Yes, this is all we need to know. It's blood. It's not heating oil, nor is it waterproofing. So yeah, I guess it's blood then. It seems legit if they've pulled up the records and it's electric. Sure. I would think so, yeah. LB says, thank you for the super chat. Why isn't that blood marked as evidence? I don't know. Sam Witch says, wouldn't the authorities have said it wasn't blood? I would think so. And the articles that I read had said it was blood. There was just one person on the internet that said they thought it wasn't. Oh, are you? Okay. Where's Vic at? Tag me in the chat. Yeah, I can't do this. Juju, which pic? The blood picture I've shown a lot of times. I don't feel the need to zoom in and like full screen and like just examine it. But it's all over the internet. I mean, I just don't feel like the blood thing we need to like zoom in, you know, if that's what you're talking about. Let me see what else we got. Oh, there was that message to from Ethan's parents that I wanted to. There's a video that it's a short video, I think. I'll pull up the YouTube link. Okay, here we go. Well, this was 6 days ago. Here, this one's from 19 hours ago.
I thought I could. So my name is Stacy Chapin. I thought I could do this. Today we're here to honor the life and legacy of our son and brother, Ethan Chapin, one of the most incredible people you'll ever know. Together, we want to extend gratitude to the following. Our neighbors in Mount Vernon and LaConner, Washington, and the local communities of Priest Lake and Moscow, Idaho, for their ongoing support and care. Our extended family and friends who serve as beacons of strength and remain by our side throughout every moment. The Moscow Police Department, who now carry the burden every day, not only for us, but for all of the impacted families. And the many strangers across the country, your outreach and kind words are profoundly touching. Please know we now consider all of you friends. And lastly, we thank the media for keeping this story top of mind. Thank you.
Oh, I did the wrong person. Okay, got it.
The Moscow Police Department, who now carry the burden every day, not only for us, but for all of the impacted families. and the many strangers across the country. Your outreach and kind words are profoundly touching. Please know we now consider all of you friends. And lastly, we thank the media for keeping this story top of mind. Thank you.
So that's Ethan's parents. Sorry, I got a whole bunch of messages coming in. Vic, I need you to type in the live chat on YouTube for me to do it. Let's see what else. This is this was from 6 days ago too. I never saw this. We can watch this as well while I try to get myself situated. I got too many things going on.
Can you first just tell me how you guys are
Thank
doing?
you.
That's a tough question.
That is a tough question.
It's not something you ever expect to hear, ever. Like the call we took from our kids who were there, and you just expect to outlive your kids. Honestly, I don't know. We're just trying to process it. It's not a call that you think that you're going to have to speak with the funeral home directors and the FBI and have it hit national news. I mean, we're more concerned, Ethan was a triplet, and that's a big thing. There's a couple of things. Ethan was a triplet, and that's the most important thing for us because we have these other two kids that are very impacted by this, and they need to be lifted up and cared for. And I think the other thing that's important to us is the reason why we've agreed to do this is, number one, you're local. And number two, it's important for us to get Ethan's story out. We don't really want anybody else representing him. And it's hard to have people speaking on his behalf. So we think it's best for us to do this.
And you did say, of course, that he was a triplet, and looking through the pictures you sent, like you said, they seem to be always together. I mean, did they all go to high school and then college together also?
Elementary, high school, everything, college, they all went to the same university. Yeah, I mean, everything. We travel, we play, we hike, everything we do is all of us together. I mean, we're a pretty tight family.
Did you say that they were the ones that called you about this happening?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then are you guys all back together now?
We are.
Yeah, we're in our home in northern Idaho, our summer home. We're going to be here for a couple of days just to regroup a little.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me a little bit about Ethan? I think I was told he was very athletic. I think he played, was it basketball and tennis or basketball? Just tell me a little about his interests. What did Ethan like to do?
Anything.
You
name it, he played it, literally. Yeah. I think we just watched a thing from the university, spike ball champion, volleyball champion. I mean, right? I mean, he just literally would play and do anything. He played club soccer for years. We traveled, all of our kids are athletic, and we traveled every weekend, and he was involved in anything. He just literally, he was, I don't know.
He just loved to play everything.
He did. He loved sports. I mean, our love language with him was sports. Like, I literally watched, I follow like NFL football so that I can literally have a conversation with Ethan, because I could, send him a text message, and, that was I don't know, just everything. I don't know, that and country music. I mean, yeah. He's funny. He literally, we were trying to have a conversation really quickly about our favorite memory. We can't come up with one. I mean, he literally lit up every room, everybody. He was friend to all. He was an incredible human. I mean, one of a kind, popular. I mean, not that that matters, but I don't know. I think we believe that if you literally asked anybody in his life, anybody, they would tell you the same exact thing. I mean, I just got an email from his counselor at college, and he was just said, I loved that kid the minute I met him. He literally walked in my office last week, and it was just simply to say hi. He had a huge smile, the whole, like, you know, the feeling inside of the office changed just because he walked in. He always had something funny to say. That's been something we've talked a lot about. I mean, he was definitely the comedian of the three kids. He kept us all, I mean, we have the funniest videos of him.
He's the kind of kid that everybody wanted to be around. You know, he was just a good kid.
He's a good kid.
That
kind to all.
Didn't deserve what happened.
No. Oof.
And wasn't he going to school to study? It was something to do with sports, wasn't it?
Sports management, I think. I don't know the technical title of it. But yeah, I mean, we told him he should go be a teacher and a coach. I mean, he was incredible the way he worked with kids, and he refereed youth basketball on the weekends in Mount Vernon. I don't know. He touched a lot of people. I mean, it's the amount of support that we've seen so far has been incredible. Right? Yeah. Our neighbors, everybody, it's incredible. I mean, we have messages from people that just are like, I knew him and he was incredible. Our daughter knew him, and all she talked about was how great he was. I mean, it's a huge loss. We were at Parents Weekend last weekend with them, and Jim and I left that weekend. And as we pulled out of Moscow, we literally were like, we've done it. We've literally done it as parents. We've created 3 incredible humans that will go on and have something great to offer to this world. Honestly, all 3 of them. We literally had a conversation that we will no longer have to worry about these kids because we did it.
Yeah. What hopefully, people can support you guys right now?
It's an interesting situation because in all of your hardships in life, whatever you're going through, there's always like an outcome, like you get through it, right? Like, I don't know, whatever it is. This is something you wake up and you realize it's never going to go away, and it's very different. It's a very different. 2 a.m. is a dark hour. I can tell you that. We're all.
And I guess just during this time, like I said, you guys seem very tight knit. Are you just like, what's going forward look like for you? I know that's a hard question right now. I know it seems like you guys are really there supporting each other through this.
I think one of the first things that, like, when we got Maisie and Hunter, one of the first things, that came to me is that our life has literally taken a left turn, and I don't know how that's going to affect us, but we will not let this sink us or sink our kids, because if anything, they have to go on and shine Ethan's bright light on their own.
Mm-hmm. I think that's all the questions I have right now, unless there's anything else you guys wanted to add.
Kids, do you want us? Our kids are here watching. Do you guys have anything you want to add? Hunter, Maisie?
Holy crap.
He was their number 1, and that's going to be a hard loss for both of our kids. Both Maisie and Hunter. I mean, he was kind of each of their number 1. So it's going to be hard just for the 3 of them without him now that they're 2. We've gone from 3 to 2, and it's going to be hard for the 2 kids to figure out how to live life when you've spent 20 years as 3, and now they have to figure out how to be 2 and carry, I don't know. It's terrible. Yeah. It's important for us. I mean, the reason we've agreed to do this is there's some misinformation out there, and that's been hard for us. And that's why we, as a family, talked about it and agreed to do this, because the things that are being said are 100% not true. There's not drugs involved. There's not some weird love triangle. Ethan stayed the night at his girlfriend's house, who was one of 5 girls who lived in the home. And it's just important that people let the criminal part of it try to work itself out, and that these kids, all of the kids were just really good, great kids. So, I mean, the light of the school, I mean, everybody knew them.
One of them, I believe, was his girlfriend was also killed. Is that correct?
Yes, Xana. Yeah, they were in the same room.
And I think that's all the questions I have, but I really do appreciate you guys sharing more about Ethan so we can understand more about him and share more about him with, Western Washington and the community here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I think, so 2 things and then we'll be out of here. Just 2 more things. One, just a quick, I don't know, interjection, intermission, I don't know, whatever. I just saw this. I just saw this on Ileana retweeted this. This is kind of crazy because we're always following. I don't know the situation, but apparently this person here said just witnessed a helicopter circling the highway. Let me just take a close look, make sure I don't see any. Okay, I don't see any bodies or anything. Okay. Okay, I don't see like a body or something. I don't know what. But so just witnessed a helicopter circling the highway and then fall into a downward spiral off of Highway 77, praying for some life and peace for the families of the pilots. I don't. It says Sky 3. Sky 3. Wow. Sky 3. Man, that's crazy. I've always kind of wanted to fly a helicopter, but you hear stories like this. I mean, I guess with anything in life. Sky 3. Oh, wow. I guess that's from WBTV. 14 minutes ago, the pilot is a hero. Witnesses indicated that the pilot made diversionary moves away from the highway to save lives. Because of his heroic acts, there were no further injuries or vehicles on the highway involved in the incident. It's a tragic day in Charlotte. As we're entering into a holiday season, there are now 2 community members that won't be home spending time with their families. This is a devastating loss, and my thoughts and prayers are with their families and the entire community. Wow. Helicopter crash. Holy crap. It could have been a lot worse. Damn, that's got to be crazy, man. Knowing, I guess, your demise and trying to avoid deaths, further deaths and stuff, I mean, that thing obliterated. I guess there's no escape method either, huh? Like if you're on a helicopter with a pilot and it's crashing, or there's a co-pilot, there really is no jumping out, right? Like you can't just, like even if you had I don't know, would the blades mess up your jump? I don't think there is any escape, is there? Horrible. The other final thing too, I wanted to show again real quick, and this is from yesterday because I thought this was really good. This video, and this is that whole crime scene, the new crime scene, or the crime scene being expanded.
Former homicide detective and Fox News contributor Ted Williams is live on the ground outside the house in Moscow,
People were talking about his
Idaho.
voice yesterday.
Ted, I've been watching your reporting out there today, and you're really giving us some insight into the lay of the land here.
Oh, that's so true. The neighborhood says there was another horrific plane crash over Veterans Day at an air show. I don't even think I can show that, but that was weird too. They wasn't it 2 planes crashed into each other? There's no people in the chat saying there's no escape from a helicopter. Okay. Oh, somebody say you can jump right out, but I meant with like a parachute. You can't though, right? I would think. I don't know the kind of airflow that those blades have. But I saw that show and I don't know what happened. Those planes crashed right into each other. Veterans plane crash. November 13. 2 planes collide, crash at Veterans Day Air Show. Yeah, they even have it on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not gonna show you, but that shit was crazy. Oh shit! I'll retweet it. If anybody follows me on Twitter, you can watch it there. That was crazy. It's insane to see it like that. See what this guy's tweet is at. I'll tweet it and I'll drop it on Discord if you want to see it. And by the way, you guys make sure you join us on, if you're not a part of the Discord community, it's a free app. You download it. We have a community over there. There's some community rules, but we're there all day long. They're talking about this case too. You can join our community there as long as you follow the rules and you're not crazy and toxic. Make sure you check out Discord. Follow me on Twitter, the alternative media platforms.
And which areas are blocked off and what kind of work they're doing there right now. What can you tell us, Ted?
Well, I can tell you that in the last few minutes, Martha, there's been some developments here where law enforcement is here on the crime scene and they are blocking off the crime scene. What they're doing at the crime scene here is that they are broadening the crime scene. There's crime scenes tape up around the home, and what we are now finding is that part of the parking lot itself is being broadened off as part of the crime scene. Now, earlier I had spoken about the area.
This is what we saw on the map. This is that little road and that parking area, and on the Zillow map where you can see the vehicle on the side. I mean, you can see everything from that house from right out here. But also, if somebody were standing out there, I mean, if you were looking, maybe if you weren't looking, you wouldn't see them. But if you were looking, you'd probably see them easily, unless it was night.
The crime scene, that the leaves and everything back here were rather undisturbed. And I spoke about the fact that the killer or killers very well could have come out of what we have as a rear door back here. We don't really know that they did, but if they did, and if they wanted to get rid of their weapon, the knife that was used to kill these 4 young people, they could have dumped that knife anywhere back here. So I would have to believe at some stage or another, law enforcement is going to perform a grid search of this area just to clear it. I'm not saying that the murder weapon is back here, but primarily to make a determination if there's any physical evidence back here. Martha, this was a very gruesome murder scene, according to the medical examiner. According to the medical examiner, there was actually blood on the walls. And I can tell you, if we pan over, we're looking at the second and third story of this home. And as you look, these are the 2 sections where the bodies were supposed to have been found, on the second and third floor. Now, it is believed that there were 2 surviving individuals here that was on the second floor. I stand to be corrected, on the first floor of this home. Those individuals, 9 hours later, a call was put into law enforcement. Now, it is my understanding that before law enforcement...
Hope they search too, like these back hills and all this stuff. Like they should really, you know, this is the parking lot area, but it continues on further back. Because we got, I mean, it's not that much. Oh, shoot. Oh, can I go over here? Oh, they got these houses over here. Where's the house at?
arrived, that those individuals may have called others that came to this scene, meaning other civilians. The problem with that is there's always a concern of contamination of this scene. So all of these things are going on right now. But as we speak, law enforcement is here cordoning off this area, widening the area.
Yeah, so there's like this whole, I guess I can't zoom in further, but he's right back here standing. But there, I guess there's another house and property here. There's another, I mean, it could be anywhere, but the person could have just ran off after. Hopefully they're doing like a walkthrough through all these areas, maybe to, I don't know, to possibly find the weapon, unless the weapon was thrown away in a dumpster.
Yeah. Ted, you know, there are just so many questions here. Do the police, and I'm going to talk to one of the nearby police captains in just a moment, but have they let any knowledge come out about whether or not they believe this is someone who knew these victims, or whether or not they think this is some sort of outside serial killer crazed person? Is there any indication of which way this is leading right now?
No, the one nugget that they gave us early on is that law enforcement believes that this was a targeted killing of these young 4 students. And so as a result of that, one of the things that we've tried to establish, and we don't know, and we've tried to get it from law enforcement, is do they actually know who was actually targeted here, Martha? And second of all, what was the focus and the motive for targeting that one person? We don't know if it was any of the individuals that were killed here or the 2 surviving individuals.
Ted, thank you very much. It's, you know, it is such a tragic case, and there are so many questions.
I'm muted. There's an update that came out from the City of Moscow Police Department. It's got a call about this update, and it says here, press release 39 minutes ago, Monday evening, Blaine Street incident update. So this is the incident where the girls were allegedly being chased. Just before 5:15 p.m. last night, 911 received a call reporting suspicious activity in the 600 block of Blaine Street. A female caller informed the dispatcher that she saw a male in the front passenger seat of her vehicle, so more clarification, when she opened the car door. The female, who was with her sister, slammed the car door and ran screaming from the car and called 911. Multiple neighbors heard the girl screaming and came to assist. They checked the area but did not find anyone. The neighbors told responding officers that they had not seen anyone in or exit the vehicle. A passerby informed the sisters of seeing a male chasing them and left before speaking with officers. They weren't able to confirm these details, and the officer was unaware of this information during the time of the call. Police checked the area. Officers contacted a male matching the description, but learned he and a friend had just returned from a restaurant, and the male approached the sisters to help. The male withdrew and waited to talk to with the officers when accused of being involved. Based on their knowledge at the time, officers closed the incident as unfounded. This term is used to close an incident that cannot be initially substantiated. However, if additional information is obtained, the incident can be reopened. Online reports created immediate speculation that implied there was a link to this incident and the ongoing homicide investigation, which we urge residents to remain alert and vigilant. Additionally, we remind the public and media that investigate releases of information will be through official channels. Initially, we remind the public and media that investigative releases of information will be through official channels. Okay. So I guess they weren't able to substantiate or corroborate this incident. It's pretty weird. I mean, why would anybody make it up? But I guess they couldn't, find this person. A passerby informed the sisters of seeing a male chasing them and left before speaking with officers. Why would you leave? They were unable to confirm these details, and the officer was unaware of the information during the call. They contacted a male matching the description, but learned he and a friend had just returned from a restaurant, and the male approached the sisters to help. The male withdrew and waited to talk to the officers when accused of being involved. That's weird. I wonder about that. Accused of being involved. I mean, the person that ran would know, right? Who accused them? Was it the girls? Anyway, I am glad that cops are like jumping on the rumors and speculations or things that people are bringing up and shutting it down. Also, while we speak on that, I can show this. So Teabag on Discord posted this, and Fresha shared his post with me. This was the day of the incident. Homicide incident address 1100 block King Road, Moscow 83843. Disposition act time reported 11:56, as we've said multiple times. Complainant of unconscious person. Officers and EMS responded. Coroner and detectives notified. Report taken. So again, that goes back to the whole thing where this could just be terminology, and maybe they knew because, I don't know, they notified the coroner and detectives, or is it just common practice to always do that? I don't know. So, but that's another piece of information to take in. And I think that's it. I think we're done. I think we've did good for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I will be following updates. Tomorrow is the press conference. So this stream is going to link you back to that press conference. If you don't have a link for the press conference and the redirect doesn't work, I'm going to drop a link for you guys as well. We'll be here an hour early. I think an hour early. Hopefully I can find enough stuff for us to hang out and talk about with. So I probably won't update this story until tomorrow, so I can save whatever comes out and we can talk about everything tomorrow. Let me put the link here. I think I might be back later today. Today's my mother's birthday, so I'm going to be in the evening, going to be kind of unavailable. And I have a weird sinking feeling that there's going to be a chase. I'm kind of worried about being out and a chase happening. But later I'm going to be out with my family, so I won't be really doing anything. If I do something, it's going to be way, way later. Like, I don't know. If I do something, it would be towards 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. Maybe 10. Especially if there's a chase later tonight, then I can definitely make it. And I just have a feeling like a chase is going to happen. I haven't had that feeling in a while. I have a bad feeling a chase is going to happen. Thank you, Charisma. I appreciate that. Got a bad feeling. And I've also been wanting to cover the other story too, the Robinson. I've been getting a lot of requests like every day to cover different stories. It's really hard when I'm covering a main story to start mixing in other stories. I mean, we updated Quentin yesterday. We'll get there. It just takes a little bit of balance and time because I can't let off the focus and fall behind on the main story that I'm covering. But I will interject other stories when I have the time. We've done that many times. It's not anything foreign to us. Like even with the Gabby Petito, at first it was super, super busy. And it still was, but at a certain point I was able to, what I was doing is I was introducing new stories at the end of covering our main story live stream to carry over some of the audience from the main story to help spread the story to other stories. That's just the strategy that I would do. But there's just a lot of stuff going on YouTube, and then personal life like everybody else, and family and all this stuff, and parenting, which are, all the other parents have. But then also when you're parenting on your own, basically single parent on my own, like, what I mean, like the only one that's actually doing the parenting. So, Mel, Ashley says, Mel, do you think a suspect will be announced at the press? I don't think so. Since Wednesday's pre-conference was planned before Sunday's, I don't think so. I don't know what they're gonna announce, honestly. I'm really thinking they're just gonna go over the updates, maybe official stuff, how many more tips, how many more interviews. If something breaking happens, then they'll go over that too. But I don't think they have a suspect, like an official one that they're going to announce. I don't see it happening. So I remember, I forgot what other story it was that they were doing a bunch of press conferences for. I've been covering so many, I don't remember. There was one of them that we were having press conferences all the time. Was it was Kylie? Maybe it was Kylie. A bunch of press conferences. Emma, thank you so much for the super chat. Says most likely invited to sleep over with one of the girls. Things got so bad in the room, killed off witnesses that knew he was there or coming over. Locked bedroom doors after killing each, hence no response. Call, change of clothes, no trail. Is it true iCkEdMeL? That's not even close. It's actually really off, but I'm not going to talk about what I like, how much or whatever. But those pages are usually really off. There's just so many things they don't take into account. They don't take into account a lot of things, and they also don't take into account Facebook. I monetize on Facebook. So. Targeted. Emailed you about modding. Okay, yeah, thank you. I already added 2 people to mod. I added 2 people. I may add maybe 1 or 2 more. It depends. But I really would like you for people that are active that I've actually seen in the chat or, watch the channel. I really don't like adding like random people. And you also have to be able to download Discord, because Discord, there's rules on there. You can read the rules. Everything's like format and put out so the mods can check it out. Benji. Weirdo. Yeah, you gotta be careful. It's true. I guess that's it. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys so much again. Please hit like on the way out. Subscribe. I will move this stream over to the presser tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow for the press conference. I have no idea what they're going to say. I just have a feeling it's going to be more of a recap. They're going to do some sort of Q&A. It's going to be short and limited, because the first time, I think, or one of the first times, they were allowing more questions. This last time they cut it down to 10. I think about 10 questions the guy said. I don't know how many they actually got to ask. And they even cut it off. And so I'm thinking it's going to be very limited questioning. And all right, BL. Oh yeah, I sent you a few DMs, BL. I guess yeah. I'll check. So yeah, don't forget the presser tomorrow. All right. Take care, guys. Love you. Peace. Bye.